Hey guys, it's Kate and today I want to talk about commissions. Most importantly, I want to talk in this video about the don'ts, the things that you should avoid doing when you are actually doing commissions for your clients. So the first thing that you need to understand is that a commission is a work that is someone else's idea. More often than not, it's something that you wouldn't choose to paint yourself. It's just someone else's idea that you actually turn to life. One very important thing to remember is that you are your own brand. As soon as you start putting your name out there, people will start recognizing you. And it's very important that they have a good impression of you. That is why it's very important also to keep in mind some of the things that I will be talking about today. So the big first don't is not taking a deposit. Why should you take a deposit? I have another video that's dedicated entirely to taking a deposit and what can happen if you do not take it. Most importantly is that you can get a client that is just not going to pay you for the work that you've done. And it's a very unpleasant feeling. Trust me, I've been through that. So sooner or later, that's bound to happen. I always tell my clients that before I start any work, before we start any discussions about reference photos and so on, there's always going to be a non-refundable deposit. It's 25% with me. There are artists that take a 50% deposit. There are artists that take some, for example, I don't know, of £100 just to book the slot for the commission. By taking a deposit, you ensure, first of all, that you have at least a part of your time and your art materials paid for. You ensure that the person is serious, because when it comes to paying, sometimes people order work from you and it's very easy to do that without committing to actually pay anything. So when people do pay money, they treat it more seriously. This way, you are kind of safeguarding yourself against a client that's going to bail on you entirely. So another don't is do not send your painting to the client before he has paid for it. There are trustworthy people that will pay you eventually, but stay on the safe side, because trust me, there are people that will get the painting and decide that they don't want to pay you anymore. This also goes to the next don't is do not send good quality photos or prints, like scanned prints of your artwork. What I mean by that is, of course, you can show your paintings before you send them off to the client to get them approved. But what I do is I take a photo and I reduce the size of it so that the client cannot print it out and hang it in his room, in his house, instead of the actual painting, so without having paid for it. So this way you kind of, again, make sure that you get paid for your work. So as we're talking about sending stuff, there's another don't that I have to mention. Very important. Never send your work without tracking. I had this one time that I sent my work to a client that had bought a painting previously, and I've sent the painting to the same address. So this client, she approached me to have another painting done, and I was really happy to do it for her. The painting was okay, she approved it, and I said, okay, can I send it now? So she paid and I sent it. The problem was that she had moved. So she contacts me in a couple of weeks, I think, I don't remember, and she asks me, where is the painting? I tell her that I've sent it, and usually, I don't know why I didn't do it that time, but usually I kind of contact my clients and I ask them to let me know if the painting hasn't arrived or if there are any problems with the painting. So the client contacts me and she asks me, where is the painting? And I tell her that I sent it more than a month ago. She tells me then at that point that she's moved. And that was kind of a blow. I didn't know what to tell her. So the whole situation got a bit out of hand, to be honest, because I was really worried about everything that was happening. And I went to the post office as I didn't have the receipt. Also, again, me, just now I keep all the receipts from all the stuff that I send. But basically, she told me that she went to her old house and she contacted the landlord and they told her that there was no package. Like, no packages had arrived to her address. Eventually, I know it's my fault, and now I wouldn't do anything like that because I know that the client takes the responsibility. I cannot make sure that the mail doesn't lose it in process of delivering it. I am just an artist. So it got to this point where actually I took on the responsibility upon myself when it was her who didn't tell me about the change of the address. I offered her to do another painting for free. So I did the second painting, and then eventually I did send the second painting and I sent it tracked. This is the most important thing about sending your work. Always send it tracked. Always keep the receipts and always make sure that the painting does arrive. So if you send your paintings tracked, you'll make sure that you know that the painting has arrived to the recipient. I am sure that this lady wasn't taking advantage of me, but there are people like that out there. Always make sure that you're sending it tracked. And this is going to increase the sending fees as well. So the P&P will change, because when you send it tracked or when you send it with first class or second class, it's completely different. So sending things that are tracked from UK to the United States, it costs around £13. Whereas if I send them non-tracked, it was under 4, I think. Me being silly, wanting the client to pay less, I was sending things that weren't tracked. So again, learn the hard way. As we're talking about sending stuff, you have to make sure that you are securely packaging your work. If it's a painting or a drawing, you need to decide what is going to be the packaging. It has to be definitely rigid. Sending your work in a plain envelope without any backing to it, without any protection, is going definitely to get you in trouble. So you have to make sure that you package your artwork in a way that it has a backing. So basically it has to be rigid enough to withstand any damages that can occur while it's being shipped from the post office to your client's house. I used to use those rigid kind of cardboard tubes where I would roll my painting up. I would tell the client immediately, as they get the painting, they should unroll it and frame it. So this would ensure that the painting kind of flattens out. It wasn't a problem with watercolor paintings. Now that I am sending my pastel paintings, I'm using foam board, or you can use any board as long as it's rigid enough. And foam board is good because it's not heavy and it's quite rigid, so the painting won't get damaged. I kind of sandwich my painting in between the foam board and also some tracing paper that ensures that it doesn't get smudged as well. Like this, I am sure that the painting is going to arrive safe and sound without having any adventure on the way. It's a good idea to also put a sticker, fragile, do not bend, just to stay on the safe side. So the next don't is accepting bad reference photos. You have to understand that your work is going to be only as good as the reference photo is if you're working on commissions from photos. It's very, very important that you select the photos out of a number of photos provided by your client, and that photo is of good enough quality that you can zoom in and you can actually, if it's a pet portrait or if it's a human portrait, that you can actually zoom in and see the details of the face. So bad reference photos, such as taken from afar or taken for Instagram or Facebook. Usually people send me, if they want to do a gift to someone and they want their dog to be painted, for example, they send me pictures from Facebook. So Facebook and Instagram, they diminish the quality of the pictures considerably, and you will not be able to see all the details as you would be able to see them on the original photo. Then the lighting, that is so important. I can't stress it enough. Every time that I talk to my clients, I tell them which photos they should look for when sending them to me. So most importantly, that there's no flash whatsoever. So if you take a photo with flash, it's going to flatten out all the shadows, and it's seriously perpetually impossible to actually give a shape and definition to any object that was taken with a flash. In a perfect world, I like to work with a very strong sunlight. So I like this feeling of warmth as I work in realistic style. I prefer pictures that have very good lighting conditions. Of course, you can also use photos that were taken if the weather is cloudy. Those will kind of take the sharpness of the shadows down a bit, but they're also good quality photos. And also another thing is old photos. Now, in this day and age, every smartphone can take beautiful photos. And if you accept a picture that has been taken, I don't know, 20 years ago, that was taken with a Polaroid or just with those tape photo cameras that you had to take to a print shop and get the photos done from the tape that was inside, those will not give you the amount of details that you need. And another thing is the perspective. So it's very important, especially with people and animals. I'm not talking about landscapes because I don't have the experience of working with landscapes, but it is very, very important that the perspective is not distorted. What I mean by that is the best way to photograph your subject, if it's a person or an animal, the camera has to be at an eye level of the subject. So what it means is that the proportions of the face, of everything, of the body, is going to be correct as we see it. Because if you take a photo that has been done from a perspective of too low or too high above, like especially the selfies like this, like when you see people taking photos of themselves from up high, and it distorts the proportions. And if in the photo on Instagram it looks okay, it's not going to look good in a painting. Also with animals, there are these huge muzzle dogs or cats that were taken from up close, were shot from up close, and basically they have distorted proportions. Their head is smaller than the muzzle, or from up high when their shoulders are smaller than the head. So basically you need to pay close attention to your reference photo. If the client cannot provide you with a good reference photo, do not accept the job. Just do yourself a favor and give up on it. Say that you cannot produce a good painting, be honest, and say that you cannot produce a good work based on these reference photos. So if the client can get other reference photos, great. If they can't, then maybe there's another artist who's going to take it up. But just don't damage your own reputation by producing mediocre work and something that you could have done a lot better if you had a good reference photo. This is one of my favorites. So the next don't is accepting work for free. What I mean for free is for exposure. I've been approached multiple times on Instagram, not on Facebook though, but on Instagram, yes. People were asking me to paint their dog, and it starts usually like this: can you paint my dog? And I answer, yes, I can. But the thing is that I'm not that interested in painting your dog if you do not commission me to do that. They ask me these questions, and basically it comes down to the fact that I tell them the prices, and the person tells me, well, you know what? I have a huge following on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, whatever. If you paint my dog for free, I will give you more exposure. Seriously, if it's not a superstar, a Hollywood actor who's going to ask me a thing like that, I'm not gonna do that. Shameless people who are asking you to do the job that they don't want to pay for. Just don't fall for people like that. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Every work has to be paid for. So this next don't is about clients. Do not argue with your clients. I've been working with clients for a very long time. I've used to work as an interpreter, and sometimes there are these very annoying people. I know how it feels sometimes. And you just, sometimes you want to tell them everything that you think about them, but just please don't. Be very patient, be very respectful, even if those people are not going to be your clients. Let's say someone contacts you and you tell them your prices and they say, oh yes, it's kind of okay, your work, but you know what, it's too expensive. And yeah, you're not that good. Or like, let them talk about it. Say, okay, I respect your opinion. Let's leave it at that. So don't argue with people. Do not go as low as they can go. So even if someone tries to argue with you about something, just let it go. Be respectful, most importantly, because once again, as I've said, your name is your brand, and it is very important to maintain a good reputation. So this other one is accepting commissions that you aren't comfortable with. What I mean by that is it might be a subject that you are not willing to paint. Let's say it's an erotic picture that someone wants you to do, and you're not comfortable with it, or there is just something about the picture that you just don't feel right about. If it's a subject that you don't feel comfortable about painting, like if you do horses only and someone asks you to do a cat and you feel uncomfortable of painting a cat and actually making sure that that painting is going to look as good as your horse paintings, then just say no. Be polite and say that you are not willing to take a commission. So you are the person that decides if you are going to take the work or not. You can always say no to a client. Do not set time limits that are going to be too short for you to complete the work. You have to consider, before you start taking commissions, one very important thing is that you have to have a portfolio, which means that you have to have some paintings that you are sure of the time that it takes you to complete one painting. So I know that pastels will require me to work on a certain piece at least 10 hours. So as I am a full-time mom at the moment, I do not manage to squeeze 10 hours of work in a 24-hour time period. I will have to split it into days, and I will have to count how many days of work it's actually going to take me. If you can dedicate to your work more hours a day than just a couple, just count how much time it's actually going to take you. Another thing is the burnout. Sometimes you can feel that you are spending way too much time working on a single piece, or just working in the same medium and you need to take a small break. So also take that into consideration, because if you block in one commission after the other, you just can get the sense of, okay, I'm tired, I need to take a break. And that's going to impact the time that it takes you to complete a piece. If you tell a client that the work is going to be done in 10 days, let's say, and you haven't finished it, that's going to tarnish the way that the client sees you. Sometimes things do happen, life gets in the way. I got a very, very bad tonsillitis last time, and I seriously couldn't get out of bed. I had a fever like of 39, past 39, and it felt horrid. So I let my clients know that I am sorry, but it's going to take me just a couple of days more because I'm ill. So you can fall ill. It's a normal situation. Everyone gets ill. And people usually, they understand. But just make sure that you warn your client. So it's very important to set time frames and to actually count the days, the hours that it's going to take you. If you haven't got those requests yet, I'm sure that you will. I think pretty much everyone that I know has had requests of repainting someone else's work because the other artist's work costs more and you can do it for less. That's a huge don't. Never do that. I've been approached by a person once and they asked me to paint, I don't remember what it was actually, but I think it was maybe a colorful animal or something. I do not remember it very well now because I immediately shut them down, because what they told me is, ooh, I know this artist, they paint blah and blah, and I would really like this painting, but it's too expensive. It costs like over $1,000. Can you do it for £100? And I'm like, what? Like, seriously? No, it's plagiarism. It's such a huge no. If the word about this gets out, those £100, they are going to ruin your career. Seriously. It's so bad. It's one of the worst things that you can do. So please respect other artists' work and tell your clients that I do my own thing. I do not copy. The next don't is negotiating about the price. Do not negotiate about prices. What I mean by negotiating is sometimes you will get a client who's going to say, ooh, you know what, I'm going to order 3 paintings and can you give me a discount? They think that based on the amount of paintings, amount of work that they are actually giving you, you should give them a discount. It doesn't work that way. They're not getting a shampoo where you buy one, get one free. Paintings and art are not a necessity. So a person that is actually commissioning you to do the work should think about the fact that it's going to be expensive. Yes, because art is expensive. It's work and it's knowledge and skill. If you think about it, if you do these 3 paintings and you take those 15%, let's say, off, then that person is going to ask you for continuous discounts. And if you give in once, it's going to continue all the time. And why should you give a discount for any painting? You have counted the hours, you have counted the art supplies that go into it, and this is the price that you set for yourself. You might have a different opinion, and I completely respect that, but I would never give discounts just because a person decided to buy multiple paintings at the same time. Another don't, if you are just starting out, don't expect the commissions to come your way without putting any effort into marketing your art. What I mean by marketing your art is spreading the word. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, join groups, talk to people. This is the way that you can show the art that you are doing to the world. If you create your website, which is amazing, by the way, you have to have a website. That's the next don't. Always have a website. Don't go around without having a website for your art. If you are only on your website and you don't communicate with people, no one is going to find out about you. It's impossible in the modern day and age. There are so many artists out there, so you have to put in a lot of effort into marketing and into actually talking about yourself. Doesn't mean that you have to talk only about yourself, but be involved in conversations, join groups, for example, on Facebook, on different forums, and you can actually learn a lot from people that are in these groups. And I have also joined myself different for sale groups on Facebook, and it's actually one of the places that I get my clients from because I advertise my work there and then I send people to my website from there, or they can contact me directly. But it's very important that you actually let people know what you are doing, so they will not find you if you do not talk about yourself. Another don't is prices, and if you are dwindling between them. If you have set prices to, let's say, 100, just let's say for a small painting you do £100 for a very small painting, and then the next day you decide, okay, I don't have any clients. In a week, again, no more clients, no one is interested. and you're thinking, maybe that was too expensive. So you lower the 100 to 90. You get 2 clients or 1 client or whatever, and then you think, okay, no, 90 is actually too few. Let's do it 150. Again, you don't have any clients, or maybe you have a client or 2, and then again, there is complete silence and you don't get any work done. And you're like, okay, that must be too expensive. Let's go back to 100. So basically, don't go up and down in your prices. Set them and stick to them. Go only higher. Don't go lower. It's very important because people that go, for example, on your website and they see your prices and they see that at one point you charged 100, then you charge the 90, then you charged 150. It's just going to confuse them, and it's going to give an impression that you actually don't know what your work is worth, and these kind of changes that come from nowhere, no one is going to explain to them. They're going to have an impression of you without actually even talking to you. But they might see your prices and they might decide otherwise, or maybe they're like, okay, I'm gonna wait, maybe she's gonna drop them even lower. And it just, yeah, it's not a very good marketing strategy. This other don't is ignoring requests. Always communicate with your client. When you are accepting a commission, it's very important that you keep in touch with people that are actually commissioning your work. Do not ignore emails or phone calls or whatever for any reason. Just let them know, as I said, if you get ill, let them know that you are ill and that it's going to take you a couple more days. Or if you have any questions about their pet's fur, if you have a picture that was taken inside the house with the yellow light that's shining from the usual lamp that they have at home, and then the dog comes out in a different color, so then it actually is, because in the photo you see that color there in particular, so the shade is slightly different, then what it's going to do, it's going to make this communication with client even more difficult, because they will say, oh, wait, I don't like the fur, it's not my dog, it's not the right kind of like color that the dog is. And you will say, well, I had this photo. So don't take anything for granted. Ask questions, communicate. Ask them, can you send me another reference photo just to see the color of the fur? Explain things, and people are very willing to actually work with you. They're very, very willing to talk to you, because it's interesting to talk to an artist. Some people, they just want to talk to you and ask you questions about your work. So communicate with people. This next one is also a very important thing. Not letting people know how many changes they can actually make to the work that you're doing. I always make sure that I tell my clients that the amount of changes that they can do that are going to be free, they are only minor changes, and it's up to 3 changes if they want something changed in the picture. So I explain what is a minor change, I explain what is a major change, so a composition or the tilt of the head or the different positions of things around if there is more complicated background. So I always explain that those are major changes and they cannot be done. It's impossible to do it. It's going to take you a lot longer to do these changes. It's basically you will have to redraw or repaint your work. So I make sure that I tell them that they get 3 changes for free, and then they will have to pay more. So depending, you can set a price on each change or a percentage from the whole work's cost. That's going to allow you to calculate how much each change is going to cost them. So that is very important, because sometimes you can have people that are going to request one change upon another, upon another, upon another, upon another. It's just going to take you a lifetime to finish that painting, if you ever do finish that painting, because it just gets you down, because you get frustrated with the decisions that the client makes. So very important, just let them know the amount of changes that you are willing to do, if you are willing to do any. This next one is a very important don't. Don't undervalue your work. So you have to stay very clear with the clients that what you're doing is a job and that you are getting paid for it, that you are actually earning a living with what you're doing. So this is going to set your mind in the right frame. Imagine if you went to an office job and a person there tells you, you know what? I don't think that you did a very good job today, so I'm not gonna pay you for today. So this is what happens when clients kind of start saying that they don't like your work and that they're not going to pay you. So again, I've spoken about this in my other video about the deposits, but value your work and remember the fact that the client has decided to choose you to do this particular commission. So they must have seen your other works, they must have seen what style you work in, and they must have liked your other paintings. And if they don't like the result that they get, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just what you do. It's your painting. Don't undervalue your work. Be always sure that your work is worth it. As I said, also, don't decrease the prices just because someone asks you and someone tells you that your paintings are not worth the money that you actually are asking for it. You decide it. This is one of the perks of this profession, is that you decide how much you're going to earn. And of course, within reasonable boundaries. So very important to remember what you're worth. Do not undervalue your work. And another thing about this thing is that I started out with charging very, very few for my first paintings. Like literally like tens of pounds, and that's it. I started out like that, and then I kept increasing my prices. I knew that I was more secure if I charged very few, and that I would get more experience if I charged very few for the time being. But then I started increasing my prices as I got better and as I felt more secure about myself. Now, I would never charge as few as I did back then. I value my work, I value my time, especially with having a toddler at home. You start realizing how much you can do in 1 hour. So I'm valuing every minute of my free time, and that is very important when you're doing things like art. So the next thing is, don't use non-archival materials. So non-light fast paints, pencils, and so on, or paper that is going to fade and yellow with time. Imagine a scenario when you are doing this drawing, let's say, and you finish it, the client is happy about it, you get paid, they receive the painting or the drawing. After 5 years, the paper becomes yellow underneath and the colors fade. That is terrible. So they're going to contact you and they're going to say, oh, listen, I bought this drawing from you and it was good, but now it's faded and yellow and it looks just ugly. Either you do another drawing for them for free, or whatever is the agreement that you come to. Don't put yourself in that position. First of all, you ruin your name again. Once again, your brand is going to get tarnished by this, because people talk and they might tell their friends are going to tell their friends. So it's kind of a word of mouth. People are going to get warned, oh, you know what? This lady there, she does cool stuff, but yeah, over time it's just not worth it. It's not worth the investment. So make sure that all your materials are light fast and archival. And then another important thing is not to have a portfolio. So don't start working on commissions if you have nothing to show for yourself. If you tell people, ooh, I paint horses, they're going to say, ooh, can I see any of your work? Yes, you can, but actually I don't have any. I just started and I decided that I'm going to paint horses, but I have nothing to show you. No one is going to hire you. So seriously, no one is going to hire you. The same goes for any kind of paintings, any kind of drawings, any kind of art. You have to have something to show. At least 10 works at least to show to your potential clients that will be able to see your style, that will be able to see your skill level, that will be able to see how it actually looks like when it's done. So no one is going to believe you that you're a good horse equine artist. No one. You have to show it. People believe what they see. So most importantly, produce a good portfolio and keep track of all the paintings that you do. I always scan my images when I paint something or draw something, and I keep the scan for myself. And it's very important that you can show something to your clients when they're asking you what it is that you're doing. I have a portfolio on my website, and it's very easy to direct my clients to my website and show them, oh, look, this is my work. If you like what I'm doing, you can always contact me. So this is it for this video. I hope it's not too long. And I hope that you have gained some more insight into the commission business. I hope that you get good clients only that will respect you and value your work. So if you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that bell button so you get notifications when I publish new videos. I will be publishing more of these artsy vlog kind of videos more often from now on, and I will be doing a lot more tutorials and tips and tricks videos as well. And I will see you in the next video. Bye! Leave her alone. Leave her alone. Chloe, come. Come, Chloe. Come. 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 She's not gonna bug you when you're on me.